The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 22. Westview. I once again found the mists turning me away from closed borders, but this time I knew to expect it. The patron had informed me that Westview's borders open rarely. Because the tiny domain is currently located within the borders of Darkon, I traveled there instead, making my way to what should have been a bucolic hamlet in the Vukar River Valley. Had I not known precisely where I was going and what I was looking for, I would have gone past Westview without a moment's thought. From the outside, the town appeared empty, not overgrown or neglected, but as though all of its residents had chosen to leave an hour before. This should have been remarkable enough to draw my attention, but I found my eyes skating past the town as though it were entirely uninteresting, drawn to something, anything else. When I was finally able to focus on Westview and attempt entry, I found that its protections were twofold. Not only did an invisible barrier repel me, as though the entire village were protected by a massive wall of force, but on a bone-deep level, I did not want to enter Westview. Stepping toward it felt like stepping toward a rampaging inferno, all my instincts screaming for me to flee. After several days of encamping on the outskirts of the village, I saw the borders shimmer like a heat wave, and I suspected my time had come. I swallowed my apprehension and pushed into Westview. Immediately, what had appeared from the outside to be an empty town was teeming with laughing, genial villagers. But this was an even greater illusion than that of the vacant streets. There is no true laughter in Westview, and one could argue that only one villager truly lives there. The Lord. I am deeply reluctant to describe precisely what happened to me when I entered Westview, and how I learned all that I did. Rest assured that I shall describe my experiences in due time, but for now, I will present only the facts themselves. I have heard outlanders describe lands beyond the mists that sound impossibly idyllic, where people can live their entire lives without encountering hags, lycanthropes, the undead, or any other such monstrosities. Westview seemed on the surface to be such a place, with no one having any greater concern than preparing for the upcoming Solstice Festival, an occasion marked with music, dancing, and an extraordinary amount of cake, not with the more colorful rituals of lands such as Tempest. This seeming perfection, however, is a puppet show, with one of Westview's laughing, genial villagers pulling the strings. Wanda Maximoff, a spellcaster who arrived with her warforged husband Vision some unspecified time ago. Some past trauma inflicted Maximoff with a level of grief that should be debilitating. Rather than allow herself to experience it, the witch divides it among the people of Westview, forcing them, to carry it for her. Her control goes beyond that, however, for every person in Westview, with a single exception, is under her control, creating the illusion of an idealized village for her amusement. I suspect Maximoff may have lost her home in some kind of disaster, and is using powerful magic to create a flat, romanticized version of it where she can hide from her overwhelming grief. This is an understandable impulse, or would be if she did not force innocent people to act in the roles of the dead friends she remembers. The one flaw in this theory is Vision. Given the level of autonomy he displays, I do not believe that this Vision is some hapless warforged bystander who is conscripted into Maximoff's fantasy. I thought at first that he was Maximoff's actual husband, perhaps charmed to prevent him from pushing against her rule. By the time I escaped Westview, I had discarded this theory. I have no doubt that the true Vision is dead. Nonetheless, this replacement is able to play the part with far more freedom than the rest of us were given. The land. The village of Westview is named for the breathtaking panorama of the mountains to the west. As my patron is no doubt aware, however, there are no mountains to the west of the Vukar River Valley. Just as she has reshaped the people to suit her fancies, Maximoff has reshaped the view to reflect the home she remembers or desires. Within the village, the people are consumed by the most domestic and frivolous of tasks. After the Solstice Festival came the Sunflower Parade, the town follies, a surprise inspection of all local businesses, and a host of minor interpersonal dealings. All of these events were plagued by 1,000 trivial complications, and when they were resolved painlessly, my body would laugh and embrace a stranger over a job well done, as though we had known each other for years. Indeed, more than once I heard myself claim that we had. It seems that Maximoff enjoys a measure of excitement and conflict in her life, but not enough to allow it to have any lasting impact on her little pantomime. Dread possibilities. I can no longer forestall describing what happens to me when I entered Westview, or detailing the time I spent there. Very well. The moment I crossed the border into Westview, a tremendous wave of grief crashed over me, leaving me shaking and breathless. I heard a voice which I would soon know to be Wanda Maximoff's, whispering Vision's name. Then, louder, she proclaimed, "Witch Hunter." My ring of protection went cold, attempting to shield my mind, but Maximoff was too powerful. Immediately, my body straightened, a determined frown pasting itself to my face. My legs marched me into town, and I heard myself demanding an audience with the captain of the guard, claiming that I had evidence of a witch in the vicinity, and that I would stop at nothing until I uncovered her. It was nothing like what I had experienced at the hands of Alma Madrigal or even Lotso. Maximoff did not alter my personality or my desires. She simply supplanted them. I was a helpless passenger, watching from somewhere behind my own eyes as Captain Romanoff and I agreed to root out any spell-casting adventurers who may have infiltrated the town. What followed were several days of humiliation as I conspired with one townsperson after another to hunt for witches. Whenever any of us suffered a particularly embarrassing mishap, a roar of laughter would echo in the back of my mind, becoming louder the more we degraded ourselves. I believe that Stephen, the man forced into the role of the incompetent wizard, was either a relative newcomer like me or a particularly iron-willed individual. I could see the panic behind his eyes when we interacted, and once his entire body froze for almost a full minute as he and Maximoff struggled for control. I saw no such resistance in the others, as though they had already given up. My memories of engaging with Vision and Wanda Maximoff and of discussing them with other townspeople are clear. Others are hazy. At one point, I watched myself making plans in the Green Hydra tea shop with another witch hunter named Mordo. Then I blinked to find that 4 days had passed and I was walking to the Sunflower Parade in the town square. I know I must have bathed and relieved myself and eaten food other than pastries, but I cannot remember doing so. I know that I slept, however. When we slept, we had Wanda Maximoff's nightmares. I dreamed of Vision's death, and of a pit of identical Warforged corpses. I dreamed of Vision telling me that I had become a monster, and when I opened my mouth to argue, I could only gibber. As the days passed, I noticed Vision and Maximoff were beginning to argue, and their words were more barbed than the insipid banter of the other citizens. It came to a head as I sat in their coffee shop with Mordo. I heard Vision shouting at Maximoff that he knew something was wrong, that she was either a fool or a liar if she claimed not to see it, and that he knew she was no fool. As they argued, I felt the paralyzing pressure of Maximoff's grief lessening in my mind. I pushed back, hard, and found I was able to move of my own volition. The outskirts of town were too far. Maximoff would not remain distracted long enough for me to escape. I had to do something to unnerve her further, or to trust in Vision for help, or both. I leaped to my feet and screamed at the top of my lungs that Vision was right, that something was wrong, that she was controlling us. Vision turned to me with a start, and Maximoff glared, her eyes glowing red. I felt the pressure in my mind again, but this time there was something else. A color that was not a color, a sound that was not a sound. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground outside of Westview, my nose and ears bleeding and my back throbbing with pain where I had slammed against a tree. Maximoff would rather cast me out of her perfect town than risk me upsetting her husband. Parting thoughts. I cannot bring my patron any greater insight into Westview than what I already have. I do not know how Wanda Maximoff gained the power to turn an entire town into her playthings. I do not know why Vision has a measure of free will, or why he allows this situation to continue. I will not under any circumstances, return to Westview to learn the answers to those questions. Truthfully, I believe the kindest thing for all those who live there would be to burn the entire town to the ground. Even if their souls traveled to some hell, it could only be an improvement. My next destination can only be an improvement as well, despite being a literal prison. Holding a jar of spiced peaches as a mist talisman, I checked to ensure that I carried plenty of water in my supplies. It was important to bring all the water I would need with me, rather than expecting to find it at my destination. After all, there is no lake at Camp Green Lake. Regards, D.
The dreams we hold on to are precious things, my little servant, but even they must eventually die. Maximov's tenacious dream of a quaint village, trivial concerns as the backdrop to her perfect marriage, is nothing more than her overindulgence, the greatest weapon in her tormentor's arsenal. Hope. Hope that the next time it will be different. That when she resurrects her spouse, it will truly be him. That he will understand her completely and love her as he was meant to. That he will stand by her and live in the perfect world she created for them. At times, I wonder if despair would be kinder, but such a kindness would be lost on Wanda, for she desires denial. Grief drives even the most brilliant minds to the darkest corners of existence. Though my servant is unlikely to forgive Maximov actions, after experiencing that grief firsthand, she may come to understand the reasons Maximov continues her little puppet show. Accounts of these lands, before they're stolen by the mists, are difficult to obtain. However, based on my own knowledge, my servant is incorrect in her assumptions. Maximov is not grieving an entire village's worth of individuals. She is only grieving the loss of Vision. The rest of the villages are merely the scenery to complete her idyllic life. This would explain why Vision is the one to have some semblance of self. If she had to control him, he would be nothing more than another puppet, and that is not what she desires. She desires him alive and by her side once more. I know not how my servant escaped Maximov's clutches. Perhaps she did not want her spouse to see the monster she had become, and she merely banished you instead of destroying you. Perhaps she felt my presence and did not wish to make an enemy of me. Regardless, I am of the mind to send less valuable assets into Westview, should I desire further research into the realm.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at darklordaslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening.